You may not know this, but I spent most of my time growing up in the Philippines, and today we're going to make one of my favorite meals, chicken adobo. This is a national dish in the Philippines. For this, you're going to need some chicken thighs. Now, I hope you snag a deal as good as this deal that I got from Lidl. They marked down their chicken to $1.50 per pack each week. You're also going to need some potatoes, some baby carrots, a little bit of vegetable oil, some salt and pepper, some garlic. You can use chopped garlic. I use this pre-minced garlic, brown sugar, bay leaves, soy sauce, and white vinegar. You can use rice vinegar if you have it. You're also going to want chicken bouillon or chicken broth. If you have chicken bouillon, you're going to want to add a cup of water for each bouillon cube you use. And these are all the ingredients. I went ahead and started out by cutting my meat off the bones and into large 1-inch cubes. I set aside the bones to make some bone broth, which we then use to make some chicken and homemade noodles. I'll go ahead and post that video up on the screen as well so that you can watch that if you're interested to find out how I use my bone broth. Now I'm cutting off all of the fat, and some of it is going to go to our dogs that are super happy to have something fun to eat like that. I like to use chicken thighs for this recipe because it leaves the meat a lot more moist and tender, and if you use any other cut of meat it will be a little drier, but you can use chicken breast if you really want to. Now we're adding in a good helping of garlic. We are feeding a bunch of people, so it's going to use a lot more garlic than you would think, but also a lot of Filipino dishes have a lot of garlic in them, and it is delicious. Now we're going to add in our soy sauce. You can see we're adding quite a bit as well, again feeding a lot of people. The meat that you see in this dish is a small component because we're going to be beefing up the meal with a lot of potatoes and carrots, and it will create a lot more servings of the meal without us having to branch out and get more meat. Now I'm adding in my white vinegar. You could add rice vinegar if you have it. I don't have that on hand, so I went ahead and just added the white vinegar. And then I added in my bay leaves and just gave it a little bit of a stir. You want to sit and marinate this for about 20 minutes. This will help all of the different flavors to start soaking into that meat. Now we're cubing up our potatoes. You can see we have them in fairly large chunks, and I did quite a few potatoes. I did at least one potato per person, and the potatoes were about medium size. Then I added in some oil, and I'm doing this in my Instant Pot. You can do this on the stove, but I like to do things a lot of times in my Instant Pot when we're having people over, because I know I can stick it onto the warm setting and it will keep warm throughout the night while everybody's getting seconds and thirds of the dish. Now I added in our onions and just kind of sauteed them until they were getting translucent, and I added in some garlic to start sauteing. After everything was starting to brown a little bit, I added in my meat, and this is where I differed greatly from the recipe. I like the way that they did it in the recipe, but I was short on time, so I kind of did things my own way, which is I just dumped everything in. I think in the recipe, he just took the meat and seared it, and then took the sauce and set it aside, and then they kind of made a thicker sauce with it. But I was in a hurry, and so I just added everything into the pot all at once and made it a little more like an adobo stew probably than a traditional adobo. However, it was still really delicious, so it just goes to show sometimes when you are in a hurry and you have to veer away from the recipe, the meal's still gonna turn out. It just might not turn out exactly like the recipe. I added in all of my potatoes and my carrots, and then all of that, well, a good amount of that chicken broth that I had left over. This is chicken broth that I had made previously with the whole chicken that I had in one of my previous videos. Then I added in my brown sugar, If you're familiar with some of the Filipino cuisine, a lot of their dishes have a little bit of brown sugar, and I've noticed there's a lot of soy sauce and garlic and onions used in a lot of their dishes, and it is delicious. I really enjoy eating Filipino food, and my mom's a good cook. She sat and learned from a lot of the ladies that were friends with, and they would teach us how to cook the different meals that we enjoyed and they enjoyed as well. Now I added in salt and pepper, and I just gave this whole thing a stir. Adding potatoes and carrots to meals is a great way to beef up a meal so that it's going to be more filling and stretch across more servings without costing a lot more money. Meat tends to cost a lot more even when you get it on sale. So I went ahead and added in these carrots and potatoes, and they taste really delicious in this meal. And you'll find variations of this meal that include things like carrots, even peas, in other locations throughout the Philippines. I served all of this over fluffy white rice. I'm really grateful for the time I got to spend in the Philippines, and since this is Thanksgiving, I thought I would share that with you. Thank you all for watching, and welcome if you're new. I will see you all in the next one.